everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speak, Film, and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
Today
we were going to say, and I am Adam.
I should have gone, and I'm Dracula, or something fun, but,
Anyways,
I got spooky lighting, so it's close enough.
He does. Very scary.
For the listeners who aren't watching on YouTube, he has such spooky lighting.
It's
I can't even handle it, really.
Orange tinged. It's
we
really.
Might have to ask you to leave.
Just take me out.
Yeah. So today we've got the October Roundup for you. We had a bunch of horror themed episodes in October with the streaming guide, the Over the Garden Wall review, the Midnight Club review, and then the intro and the full episode for the horror movie bracket from the 21st century. So go check those out. So we'll see how horror leaning this roundup is. I tried to exclude the horror stuff that I watched just because I felt like we talked about that to death over the course of the month. But you guys do you. We'll see what you watch this month. Do we want to? Oh yeah. So Dylan, would you like to, in case it's anybody's first time joining us for a roundup, would you like to tell them kind of what we do and why we do it?
Yeah, the roundup is for all of the other movies that we got to, but didn't get to discuss yet on the podcasts. And we break that into 4 categories. We have our best new watch of the month, our best rewatch of the month, dud of the month, and then lastly, just one that we felt like we need to talk about. And it can be multiple per category, but those are the 4 categories. And it's always interesting to kind of see how many we watched and just get a chance to talk about something that, maybe only you saw and you've just been dying to talk about it and haven't had the chance.
Exactly. So do we want to dive right in with our best new watches of the month?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we should.
I can start if you'd like.
Do it.
Right. Start
with Adam's going first.
So
spooky Adam.
My best new watch. One is spooky, one is not. I will start with the spooky one because the rest of my list is kind of spooky as well. My favorite new watch this month was The Mist. I cannot wait to watch it in black and white again. I thought the only thing that really seems dated is the CGI, which that happens. That technology advances by leaps and bounds every year anyway, so it's always going to look a little strange. It's kind of more like, oh, that one looked really good still. That's kind of what the bar is now. But The Mist, the whole back and forth with the group dynamic and having the quote unquote bad person that we had and what they stand for and all of that and how that's kind of coming to a head more and more in the world these days. It was pretty great. I loved the scene where they have to leave the store that they're in, the grocery store, and they go to the pharmacy and they take a crew of people, and obviously they don't come back with everybody. It is terrifying, and that in black and white is going to be great. I love Thomas Jane, so that's an easy fix or an easy itch to scratch. And then the ending. Again, I will not talk about the ending. I knew it going into the movie, which sort of lessened it, but holy shit, that might be one of the best endings in movie history, in my opinion.
I can definitely see people swearing off the movie because of that ending.
Same.
Yeah, so it's very polarizing, but for the people who like it, like yourself, they seem to really like the direction the ending goes.
It's just remember when you saw the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones and you were like, holy shit, what? This is where we're going. That's the end of The Mist. And it's just completely heartbreaking to see the end happen in such a way that you don't know what to do with yourself. So that was my top watch, I think, of everything we went over for the movie bracket. Nate, sorry, you looked like you wanted to say something.
No. I was
okay.
I was just gonna say I'm really glad that you finally watched this because it always seemed like a movie to me that you would really, really like.
And agreed.
And I do think The Mist has one of the most underrated bad guys or movie villains of the 21st century. It's just not brought up that much, but the woman in the store who starts kind of trying to take control of everything is terrifying.
Yeah.
And the actress does a great job, and it does a really good job of making what's happening inside the store as scary as what's happening outside the store.
Exactly. And you see some of those same tactics used in modern life, and that's just the other thing of you can see where things go awry so quickly. So that was my first one. My second one I saw at the beginning of the month. This was Bros.
Nice.
yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I think Billy Eichner was right. Not enough straight people went to go see it. I don't think enough people at all went to go see it, but that movie's fucking hilarious. It's like it's obviously it's sexual humor. It's there's LGBTQ plus humor in there that obviously went over my head to a certain degree, but there's some things that I kind of got. Like there's a joke about Dear Evan Hansen. So
Oh
some
my
musical
God,
stuff
that was
that's
so
just
funny.
phenomenal. I talked to one of my friends in that community and said like, hey, you need to go see this. He's like, oh, I was gonna wait till it came out, but whatever. Him and his boyfriend decided to go, and I was like, report back to me, like, let me know what you think. And he came back and was like, I fucking loved it. So I thought it was super funny. It's simultaneously a cliche rom-com while also being a parody of rom-coms, and I think it toes the line really, really well. While being, a universal type of movie. It's a rom-com. Everyone wants to try to find love. Everybody can find some middle ground to enjoy about those kind of stories. And like I said, I just thought it was super funny. So it definitely took me by surprise. I went alone. Like it was just like one of those movies. I sat in the corner of the theater with a fairly full theater and was just like laughing my ass off the entire time. So
yeah,
nice.
I really enjoyed this as well. We do have a review of that movie out if you want to hear us gush about it a little bit more. Dylan, I don't think you got to this one.
I did not. So you're speaking
when
to
it's
me
on
here.
streaming, you should definitely check it out. Also,
definitely.
I saw it on like the day it came out, and there were two gay couples as I was like walking into the theater, just like ecstatically taking pictures with the poster out front.
Nice.
It was just really cool to see.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a packed house, but there were about like 15 other people in there when I was like, everybody was laughing all the way through the movie. It's just a really good time. So that's a really good pick. Because that movie needs more. I need to talk about it more because more people need to watch it.
Yeah, agreed. I think it deserves to be seen for sure.
Definitely.
All right, so those are mine.
Nice. Over to you, Nate.
Yeah. So I watched roughly, I think the term is a shit ton of movies this month.
Oh man,
that's the technical term we use here.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
At Speak Film and Enter.
For 3 reasons, really. One, we did the best horror movie of the 21st century bracket with 32 horror movies. You can go check that episode out as well. We did an intro where we kind of previewed all the matchups, and then we just did the episode where the 3 of us voted on each matchup, and we went all the way through to determine our best horror movie of the 21st century. So that was really fun, but that involved there were like 5 or 6 movies I hadn't seen. So I had to get to those. And then there were a handful, like a half dozen I wanted to rewatch because it had been a while, or the matchup dictated that I was just like, I haven't decided between these 2 yet. So I don't know. So I watched a bunch of horror movies there. And then the Twin Cities Film Festival was the last 2 weekends in October. And I saw 5 movies at that. So it was just the timing of that coming here. And then also these last 2 weekends, like awards contenders have started to come out. Some of them I saw previewed at the film festival. Others like Till and Tar and like All Quiet on the Western Front and Wendell and Wild and a bunch of these types of movies that hopefully we'll be having reviews out for soon.
Yes.
But those all came out as well, and I wanted to see those right away. And so it just led to this like barrage of things I felt like I needed to see now.
Yeah.
Those 3 reasons. So it's, recording this on Halloween night. So if I finish one more movie tonight, I'll be at 40 for the month. Just like cramming a bunch of these.
Holy buckets.
Yeah. So the best 2 new watches I had, I did have a very good movie watching month as well. It wasn't like a bunch of junk that I felt like I had to watch. I can't remember if I brought this up on the podcast or just to you guys, but I noticed last month or at the beginning of October that I hadn't given a movie higher than 4 out of 5 stars since the Minneapolis St. Paul International Film Festival or Independent Film Festival in April.
Yeah, early on.
Yeah.
So it had been a long time since I had seen a movie for the first time that just like blew me away.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had 2 new movies that I saw at the Twin Cities Film Festival. I mean, there were many that I liked, but there were 2 specifically that I saw that I gave 4.5s to.
Yep.
Okay.
which was very exciting to finally have that feeling again when you see like a really, really good movie. Because you go with that big enough of a drought and you start to think like, am I just kind of in a bad mood or like what's
Or like,
Yeah.
what is it? Like, am I just getting more used to what movies look like and are
right
these days?
Or like, am I expecting too much? Like,
Yeah.
am I, you know?
yeah,
I
that's a big
becoming
part
almost-
of it too. Am
Yeah.
I responding to these correctly, or
Am I a
I don't know? You
cynic? Like, what's wrong?
start to question the way I'm watching movies. But the first one I'll talk about, so I'll start with Armageddon Time, which actually comes out on November 4th this coming weekend. It's a movie by James Gray, who has done one movie he's done many movies, but I'd seen two of his movies before seeing Armageddon Time, one of which I really liked, called The Lost City of Z.
Oh, okay.
And another one, which Dylan and I reviewed in the very first season of this podcast, called Ad Astra, which I hated.
Oh,
This is the same director from Ad Astra. Wow.
I
Yeah.
saw that eventually too. And I think we talked about it on one of the roundups about how bad that movie is.
We did not like it here. A lot of people do. A lot of people don't. It's very divisive. It's a real 50-50 split for people on Ad Astra, I think.
Yeah.
But Armageddon Time is it's sort of autobiographical movie for James Gray about growing up in New York in 1980 when he's in 6th grade, I want to say. So middle school age. Just has a deeply personal story about the strength of family, the complexity of friendship, and the generational pursuit of the American dream. So, not a lot going on. But it's basically about this kid growing up in New York. He's going to a public school, becomes friends with kind of like the one black kid in the class who has been held back, and he sort of acts out, but you can tell that like the teacher's just kind of a dick and he's not a bad kid at all. He just has no support anywhere and wants to do great things just like everybody else, and he just kind of gets ignored.
Yeah.
And then he's a Jewish family. The main character is parents played by Jeremy Strong and Anne Hathaway.
Nice.
Wow.
And then Anthony Hopkins plays his grandfather.
Wow, what
Anthony
a cast.
Hopkins is just one of the best actors ever. I mean, he is so good in this movie he's in it a decent amount. He's not the main character or anything, but it's just so understated. And like, he doesn't play these flashy characters, but the way he's able to just kind of take control of a scene with like a sentence is just incredible to me. And he's also fantastic in this, as he was in The Father in 2020.
His diction is just so perfect. The way
I feel like
his words.
He is an actor who he just picks, at least the last like few years, he just picks the best roles. It's like he just cannot miss like lately, and he knows what he like wants to do and what he excels at, and he's just like he's just gonna pluck this one gem. He's like, that's what I'm gonna do. And I want to see it just for him, honestly.
Yeah. So, and then also Dylan, just one more thing for anybody out there who's also seen this movie, but kind of around the last time I watched like great movies as well. You and I watched the 400 Blows in the spring, the 1959 French movie, which we both thought was fantastic.
Yeah, very good.
Armageddon Time reminds me a lot of the 400 Blows. I don't think it's quite as good, but there are elements of it. Once you see it, I think you'll agree that like heavily influenced by the 400 Blows, the relationship between the two kids and kind of the home life. It's really, really good. So highly recommend that one. And then the other one I just saw this past weekend, and this one unfortunately does not come out for wide release in theaters until either the first or second weekend of December.
Okay.
And this was also at the Twin Cities Film Festival. This is called Women Talking.
Oh,
I think this was on our second half of the year most anticipated. I feel like
I've
heard about. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a strong contender for Best Picture, adapted screenplay, lots of acting. The acting is incredible. This is by director Sarah Pauly, about a group of women in an isolated religious colony struggle to reconcile their faith with a string of sexual assaults committed by the colony's men. So this is based on a true story from, I want to say 2010. I think that's what they say in the movie.
Oh, wow. So like, recent.
Yep. About a Mennonite community where the women find out that for years, the men in the community have been drugging and raping them in the middle of the night, and then convincing them that it's either a hallucination or like Satan himself coming to punish them for their sins. And then it all sort of blows up when two of the younger girls see one of the men they catch one of the men one night. And then a bunch of men get arrested, and the rest of the men leave to go like sell things to try to raise bail money. And then all that's left in the compound or the community, the colony, I think is what they call it, are the women and the children. And they got about 48 hours until the men come back, and there are 10 to 12 women who have been kind of elected to decide what they're going to do about it, whether it's going to, and they kind of give themselves three options, whether it's forgive the men because as part of their faith in the Mennonite community, if you don't forgive, you can't get into heaven.
Ooh.
So a really, really big decision for them. So it's either kind of forgive the men and just stay, or stay and fight, or leave. And absolutely stacked cast with Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, Jesse Buckley, and Ben Whishaw, with a small role from Frances McDormand, who's one of the producers.
Okay.
And and then a couple, Judith Ivey and Sheila McCarthy, play some of the older women. I think I got them right, who I was not familiar with.
Okay.
But they are also fantastic, just amazing acting. And it's also surprisingly funny at times. You wouldn't think with a topic like this. I mean, it's mostly just these women talking in a hayloft for like an hour and 40 minutes about what they're going to do. But it expands so much. They start to talk about like, well, if we stay and fight, what does winning look like? Like, what are we hoping to achieve from that? And then it starts to, Rooney Mara kind of plays the character who's sort of more of a philosophical type, who kind of leads them on these more like big picture, like macro level discussions on what they actually want. Claire Foy is like her fiery sister who just wants to kill every man in the colony with her bare hands.
I like
Jesse
Claire.
Buckley is angry and just spitting venom towards everybody. And Ben Whishaw is the one man who they let stay because they don't know how to read and write. So he's the teacher for the children in the schoolhouse. So he stays to take minutes on the meeting.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's fantastic. And kind of the one way I describe it is like, it's 100% based on real things that nobody should ever have to go through. But the way it's set up reminded me of something that I really like about dystopian science fiction, where it allows you to, those stories, when they're done well, they allow you to simultaneously study what caused the collapse of your society or your community, and at the same time look at what you can do to rebuild it and make it better. And I like dystopian science fiction a lot for that reason, like Station 11, Handmaid's Tale, Parable of the Sower, all kinds of stuff. And again, this is very real, but the discussion they have felt reminiscent to me of that type of thing, where their community's been shattered and now they need to decide how they're going to deal with it and move forward. And it's a wonderful movie, amazing acting. I wanted to watch it again right away. One of the slight drawbacks of seeing movies early, which is always really, really fun, but when it's far enough out, or like Armageddon Time comes out next weekend, I got to wait like a week to see that again. But Women Talking, it's like 6 weeks, and I just want to watch it again right now. So those are my two 2022 movies that are not out yet, but to look out for. I think they're both absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
All right. Nice. Yeah, I definitely want to see Women Talking. And you said that doesn't come out till December, mid-December?
Yeah, like December 9th, something like that. I think it's either the 9th or the 2nd. It's the first or second Friday of December.
Okay. And Armageddon Time is out this week?
Yep. First Friday of November, coming out this weekend.
All right. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, yeah, I want to get to that as well. I have two for my best first watches, and I think there's a good chance we're going to be reviewing them, so I'm going to keep it just short, and I'm not going to ruin any of the points we're going to make later. But the first one was a movie that I saw at the film festival that Nate was mentioning with Nate, and that is Aftersun.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up because it was like it's indie drama that's getting a lot of buzz.
Basically, it's about a father-daughter relationship. It's kind of all takes place over one weekend when she was a kid, and she's kind of remembering it, and it just feels so like honest and like grounded and down to earth. It's just like it kind of gives me the feeling, not really thematically, but like of worst person in the world, where it's like it's very just like honest and like almost brutally honest, where it sticks with you, but then there's also some fantastical elements that are made to embellish the point. So yeah, I don't want to go on too much about it because I definitely think that we will be reviewing it, but I really liked it. I'm not sure when that comes out for wide release.
I've been looking. I can't find anything for wide release on Aftersun. It's an A24 movie, and they seem to kind of like to not tell you until they're. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint A24 releases unless they're like by huge directors, like kind of one of their big movies of the year.
Mhm.
But yeah, I keep looking because I do want to see it again. I totally agree with you. It's the Adam. I think you'd really like this as well.
Yeah,
Paul Mescal is the dad, and he was in Normal People, which I haven't watched yet, but people loved him in that Hulu miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
And the relationship between him and his daughter, and it was her first movie ever. Do you have
Frankie Corio?
Okay,
I think yeah. Frankie Corio was young Sophie. And we do have adult Sophie as well, but it's mostly all her. And just fantastic performance from her. Really blew me away. So that was a great time. And so I really loved Aftersun. And then the other one is also a movie that we will probably be reviewing. But I just wanted to let you guys know I did watch All Quiet on the Western Front, Germany's submission for Best Foreign Movie, and it's on Netflix right now. If you've seen the original, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. And also it's, within the genre of war movies, there's kind of the subgenre of like war is hell movies, where kind of the point is how awful it is. And, those, I wouldn't say it expanded that and showed me anything that I had never seen before. But what I just want to touch on now, before we get into it later in a full episode, is the cinematography is just crazy good. Like, I think if this movie is going to win anything, it'll be for the way it looks. I was reading some reviews and a lot of people were comparing it to kind of like 1917. I think it's honestly, I think the cinematography is better than 1917's cinematography.
That's what I heard.
No disrespect to Roger Deakins ever. He is the master, but like, my God, like this movie, just so many breathtaking shots and the colors, and they really let you kind of live in it. So that was, I really liked it. We'll definitely talk about it more, but those are my two favorite new watches, Aftersun and All Quiet on the Western Front.
Nice. It's nice when a lot of us are bringing up like new movies.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun to go back and see like, oh, I watched this movie from 1998 for the first time and it was amazing. And that's really fun to do too. But sometimes it's nice to just be like, hey, good new movies are coming out again.
Yeah. Get to theaters or like check it out.
Right. And they can be our best new watches of the month.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I'm really excited to watch All Quiet on the Western Front. I've read the book in high school. And that is a very impactful book.
From what I've heard, this version is more at like what's the word I'm looking for? Accurate to the book.
Faithful?
More faithful. Okay. That's what more faithful to the book.
That's interesting to hear. That's very
I didn't see the original movie. I've never read the book, so I'm going to be going into this like
walking a little blind.
I don't really know what the story's about outside of, German soldier, war is hell.
War is hell. Yeah. I did see a couple reviews saying like this is what 1917 wanted to be. Was this one. Like,
I think that'll
be interesting to me because I'm not a big fan of 1917.
I think a lot of people are going to make that comparison. Just it's the most recent movie that felt like this, but this fits in with a lot of great war epics. But anyways, back to you, Adam.
Yeah, moving on from best new watch, we will hit our best rewatch. So I only have one here, and this is a movie I hadn't realized I had seen until I started. I was like 20 minutes in. I was like, oh, I do remember this scene. I do remember this character. I have seen this before, and this was part of what I got to for the bracket. This is 2004 Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
So I was like, oh yeah, I remember getting upstairs to like the security guys when they get to the mall and how all that stuff goes down. It's another group horror movie. I think those are always the most fun dynamics. Just like when we watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies a couple months ago, like another group dynamic of like spooky proportions to a certain extent, and just seeing how people react and why they react the way they react, and what happens in those situations, and somebody you thought you could trust, you can't, or somebody you thought like is going to have the authority in the situation wants nothing to do with it. Like after Ving Rhames, his buddy across the other rooftop dies, and he's just like, I'm gonna go find my brother, like fuck this, I'm out. He just like grabs the guns and like, but we need you, like you're the biggest guy here, and they're like, he's like, I don't care, deal with it. Just some of that kind of stuff.
Groups of people being stuck in places with monsters outside, one of my favorite genres of cinema for sure.
So, and I know we talked about that a lot on the not the roundup, on the This Is the Roundup, on the bracket episode. So I won't go too much more into detail.
But me and Adam carried it to at least one victory.
Woo! Spoilers. You did, much to my dismay,
chagrin.
Indeed. Yeah.
All right, Nate, over to you.
My best rewatch, I've got a couple, and it's just two of my favorite movies ever that I had to get a couple rewatches of familiar stuff in and mixed in with all this. All these new movies. Probably about the 15th time I've watched Everybody Wants Some.
Oh, wow. Again, back to that well.
It's just like it's my favorite hangout, like casual movie ever, I think. It's just so much fun. I can throw that on and watch it anytime, and it's always a blast. It's probably I don't know, it's in my top 3 Linklater movies for sure. It's definitely the one I've watched the most. And then and then the other one was Spotlight, which I gave that a rewatch, and that's a 5-star, like perfect movie for me. Spotlight is phenomenal. The way that those 4 reporters work together, and that the movie doesn't feel the need to add extra dramatic bullshit. Like it just lets the story be what it is. It's fascinating enough by itself. The performances are great. The pacing's great. One of the best uses of just like people singing in the room in a movie. I think that's from the 2010s, probably, when the kids are singing Silent Night at the church after like a bunch of these things that they've discovered. I just think that's super powerful. And also I still forget to this day that Liv Schreiber is in that movie. It just doesn't look like him at all.
I guess I had forgotten.
And every single time I have to I stare at him, and I think like there's no way that's him.
Nice. All right, over to me. Yep. My best rewatch, 2 pretty easy ones. The first one was Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, which is always just
anytime
5
you
stars.
watch that movie, it's like top of the rewatch
I just
list.
have to mention it. I can look. I try so hard to look for flaws, and there just aren't any. It's just buttery movie magic for 2.5 or for 3 hours. I wanted to watch the extended edition, but I was outvoted on that. But Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, 5 stars for sure. And then Midsummer, which I rewatched for the movie bracket.
Oh, nice.
So did I hadn't rewatched it since seeing it in theaters, and I'm really glad I did, because as time has passed, it started to kind of go down in my rankings, just because I don't know, I would think about it and I'd be like, it was kind of weird and it was like different, but like, was it really that scary? I don't know. But seeing it now again on the small screen, really being able to kind of pick up the details with just like the themes and the hints of what is to come. I think it's just a really well put together, great psychological horror. I love that the monster is kind of it's the cult, but it's like the part of our own brains that makes us susceptible to join a cult like that. That's what's the horror, is that any one of us under the right circumstances could maybe get sucked into that type of bullshit. And it's just crazy. And I thought it's great. And then, so those are my 2 favorite, rewatches. Pretty easy. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Midsummer.
All right.
Nice.
I got to rewatch Midsummer, because again, I haven't seen it since I saw it the first time. So I got to give it that second watching and going, ooh, here's what's coming. Ooh, not be so shocked by certain things. So nice. All right. On to Dud of the month. Here we go. I had this again, going back to the well of all the spooky movies we watched. I did not like, and I watched this with my girlfriend, did not like Trick or Treat.
Yep, me. That's on my list as well. So we can just gang up on it then.
Yeah,
that movie. I didn't like it.
I liked it
to be funny.
slightly more than you guys did, but not nearly enough to argue with anybody putting it on their out of the month.
Not going to die on that hill.
No, I think I just gave it a 2.5, and you guys gave it a 2. So like,
I gave it a 2.5, and I
fine.
updated it. Like,
I just really like the stuff with the kids and like the school bus.
I thought that was definitely the best part.
Yeah,
there's elements of good stuff,
right? But it's also it's weird.
It's just bizarre. It's just like all of these are somehow related, but somehow not. They're just all happening in the same city or same town, basically. Like,
or like 20 people in that town die that night.
Yeah, like there's just demons roaming, whatever.
Right.
Like, excuse me, like you'd think that this would be more of a problem. Like, we have to keep the jack-o'-lanterns lit because otherwise they will kill us this year. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that opening scene and that little creature with the bag over its head that looks terrifying. With the candy sucker lollipop that he kills with. It's just like, what the fuck is happening? And then to find out that it's like a revered like cult classic, and it was like, who likes this movie?
It has to be people who saw it in theaters when it came out. I think it's 2007.
It never played in theaters
and thought it was terrible.
Okay, well, then people who saw it back then and I don't know, must have just been a certain age. Like,
it had to be people who were like 12 years old, like 10 to 12 years old when they saw it for the first time.
And it was like edgy and like scary and like, oh my God, people are dying. And there's like,
he's a
serial killer, but the principal, like,
the tone, it had a weird tone.
And
like a lot of the jokes didn't really hit because it had that tone. It was like, it couldn't decide like, should we just be goofy or should we actually be scary? And it was like, what if we do kind of in the middle, but it didn't nail either one. Like, I don't know.
I know somebody who told me it's their favorite horror movie.
Man,
oof.
No, that's teach their own.
Yeah, there we go.
Very well done, guys.
It's the only one on the bracket that I was like, ooh, didn't enjoy, but it was on the bracket because of the system we had. We gave everything. If you didn't watch the episode or haven't seen it yet, we went through and IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and Letterboxd and averaged those scores out across all three of those sites, and then ranked 1 through 32, and then did the bracket. So it's highly rated. It's just not for me.
It's got like an 80 something on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, too. So
I
don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like Barbarian.
I guess.
Kind of like Barbarian. It's one where I read the reviews on like Letterboxd, and I'm just like shaking my head. Like, did we watch the same movie? Like, what do you? I don't.
Sure.
Yeah, I had people talking about it at the Halloween parties this weekend. Like, have you seen Barbarian? It was so good. And I was like, from what I've heard, like it's not. Like,
Dylan and I were at a Halloween party where we had multiple people ask us if we had seen Barbarian with like excited looks on their faces.
Blow.
And we were like, yeah, we saw it.
I didn't really like it. I kept deferring to. I liked the first half.
Right.
That's. And when they see it, I think they'll get what I mean. Even if they did like it, I think they'll be able to understand where I was coming from. But anyways,
for sure.
Yeah. So that was my Trick or Treat. So sounds like guys as well.
Dud of the month for me. Another 2022 movie. This was the winner of Best Picture at Cannes. This is 2 years in a row I have not liked their choice. Last year was Titan.
Yes.
And then this year it was a movie called Triangle of Sadness by renowned Swedish director Ruben Östlund.
An Östlund picture.
Yeah.
I thought I had this on my calendar.
He also did Force Majeure, which I've heard of but never seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is about models Carl and Yaya are invited for a luxury cruise with a rogues gallery of super rich passengers. At first, all appears Instagrammable, but the cruise ends catastrophically and the group find themselves marooned on a desert island. And it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it's sort of presented as being in 3 parts, but the first part is like 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then the next 2 parts are each like an hour. So the first part just feels like it's a little like prologue to part 2. It's kind of split in, like they're on a date and then they're on the cruise and then they're on an island. And look, if we're gonna make really obvious movies with kind of the same themes and general tone to them, making too many movies about how much rich people suck is one of the better things to make too many movies about.
That's fair.
Yeah, if we have to.
Said,
if we have to, let's eat them. Like,
this movie sort of acts like, until you've seen this movie, you might not know that rich people suck.
Ooh.
Like it's revealing to us their true nature.
Like if this was made,
how groundbreaking.
If this was made in like 1987,
have been exploiting.
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, and it's there. I will say there were a couple redeeming qualities. I mean, it's not like it's poorly made. I just think it's childish and low-hanging fruit and super obvious.
Okay.
There's a scene where, like, the captain's dinner scene on the ship where it's like rocky seas and like everybody starts just like vomiting and shitting themselves and like toilets explode. And it's just covering rich. It's just, the whole like bring rich people down to our level because they're just
remind them
too.
they're human beings, right?
Kind of a thing. And I will say there was this couple that was like probably in their mid 50s sitting next to me that thought that was hilarious.
Okay.
So like, okay.
They're not as used to the social reckoning that's happened in the last.
Right. Woody Harrelson plays the captain.
Okay.
He is fantastic.
That's hilarious.
And he gets really drunk with this Russian oligarch.
Mm-hmm.
And they start like trading quotes at each other where like the Russian oligarch says, like, quotes Ronald Reagan a lot about how bad socialism is.
Mm-hmm.
And Woody Harrelson throws back like the Mark Twain quote about like arguing with idiots and like it's like some Marxist quotes, and they just get shit faced and they have this like argument with the PA system on while everybody else is like vomiting.
Okay.
So like I was kind of smiling at that.
Yeah.
Just because Woody Harrelson's fantastic. And he's like, I'm not eating these like fancy ass like oysters and caviar. Give me a fucking cheeseburger and French fries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's just very like, he plays exactly who you think he would. Like that part was pretty good. And then there's just a really, really funny joke that happens when they're on the island. But then it's kind of about like, oh, now they're on the island and we're outside of society and the rich people are useless because they don't know how to do anything. And like the woman who cleans the bathrooms knows how to like survive and build fires and stuff. And like, it's fine, but it's just so obvious the entire way through where I just felt like, yeah. Like we know all of this already. Who is this for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like with its length and how just, I don't know, it just felt childish to me in a way, or like low hanging fruit.
Just too in your face.
And yeah, I gave it a 2. Just, I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there it is. If you're going to go to the theater, there's a lot of really good stuff playing in theaters right now. Go see Tar or something else.
Yeah.
Armageddon Time's coming out pretty soon too. There's other stuff to go see other than Triangle of Sadness.
Okay.
All right.
Noted.
Nice.
Definitely noted.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. And then back to me, I already mentioned Trick or Treat was a dud for me. And then another one that ended up being a dud, I actually just rewatched it last night. Hadn't seen it in years. And that is Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992. Have either of you seen that?
I haven't watched it because Gary Oldman's in it.
Yeah, and he's going full.
That's such a
he's
weird
going
thing.
Full Gary
like,
Oldman. He's going full Gary Oldman.
He's good, but
Dylan understands it's not that he's in it. I just kind of said that to be funny.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a certain type of role that Gary Oldman takes that drives me fucking crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that movie has always looked to me to be like the peak of that.
The peak of him doing that thing.
Yeah,
that's
where
fair.
he's like
That's
covered
fair.
in makeup and he like loses himself in this like loud, crazy voice, like just in your face kind of obnoxious role. And I just don't really have a lot of interest in that. But I didn't watch it, Dylan. Tell us why.
Well, he does. I mean, that's definitely a big thing that wasn't working because he's trying so hard with the accent and with these unnecessary vocal flourishes, these unnecessary, like, he'll say like this one way and then the next line like this, and then back to he's just trying to be cute. He's just trying to be too cute. He's just like, dude, like, all right.
Just say
and
the
also
line.
I watched it with a renowned intellectual and her sisters, and they were like, why was he even cast? Because isn't Dracula supposed to be like attractive? And he's like, he's in this movie with like Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves, and he's supposed to be like this irresistible demonic thing, and it's like, it's Gary Oldman. He's not that hot. Like,
regardless of how young he was when it happened, it's like,
yeah, even when he like feeds and he gets back to like his young, his sexiest self, it's not that hot. The good things about it, and I remember it being very like colorful. I mean, it's Francis Ford Coppola, huge budget, big names, and it's like him doing his vision of it, and like there are a lot of great like colors and like backgrounds and certain things he does with shadows and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. But also like the movie is just so horny, like all the time.
Okay.
My God, dude. It's like, this is his like Eyes Wide Shut. Like he just couldn't help it. Like every female vampire has to have massive boobs, and they always come out when they're either like, attacking someone or like in bloodlust and like weird. It's just that weird kind of
fit of joy. Like
it's that kind of early 90s kind of like accepted, like under the radar, but now we can see it clearly, like misogyny and just like there's no way. I think this is the Bechdel test with like women's dialogue, and totally fails that. The only thing the women do in this is talk about the men, and like and also like it seems like for one reason or another, like every male character gets to kiss Winona Ryder. Like it's just like, okay. Jesus. And then there's Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing. And so you're like, okay. And this is right around Silence of the Lambs. I mean, this is 1992. And it's like, he should have been the thing that saved the movie. And instead, even his character is just not written well. He kind of goes like off the rails like multiple times, where he's just like, she's a whore of the devil now. He's like screaming that like at like the woman's fiance, and he's just almost like cackling about it, like, like you're like, maybe you'll see her again when she comes to attack you. Like, and it's just like, dude, like stop, Van Helsing. Like, I don't know. And then the whole thing is just, it's basically like meant to be like a romance love story. And so it has a super like ending that doesn't feel fulfilling. It doesn't feel worth it. And it's long. And so I was very disappointed with Bram Stoker's Dracula. I think my family maybe had it on like VHS when I was a kid. So I might've like snuck a watch and been like, ooh, I shouldn't be watching this. But
ooh, there's boobs. Ooh.
Well, or just like, it's scary. It's so scary. It's not that scary. But so that was my other dud of the month was Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Keanu. God bless him, trying his best with an English accent, trying his best to enunciate, but he's still Keanu. He's just
the charm is always there, but it's
weird casting decisions.
He's not there for his ability to deliver a line.
No.
So those were my duds of the month: Trick or Treat and Bram Stoker's Dracula. So now back to Adam for the final category, and that is movies you just wanted to talk about.
Yeah, movies you just want to talk about, or miscellaneous, as it's easier to type out and put as a banner. I
don't know. Miscellaneous is kind of, tough to spell word. I think movies you want to talk about is,
Let me click it on the
let
fly.
the world know that we know how to spell miscellaneous.
I just think, how are we going to be one of those pretentious podcasts?
I mean, we're white guys in our 30s that have a movie podcast. We're fairly pretentious already.
I think miscellaneous is a bridge too far. Anyways, continue.
Well, there we go.
Hey, there we go.
Isn't this like the whole podcast?
Yeah, basically. I cheated with this one, and I just said the movies I wanted to talk about. I absolutely loved going through the bracket this month. All 32 movies. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff I had seen, a bunch of stuff that I hadn't seen, more than either of you guys, I think. I think 11 movies I hadn't seen that I had to get to for the bracket. And it really, like, we theme things. There's always, like, there's Christmas movies. There's movies that, like, deal with Thanksgiving. There's scary movies for Halloween, and there's the Valentine's Day movies and all that kind of stuff. I think Halloween is a lot of fun and more fun movie-wise than a lot of other things we get. There's a lot of different avenues you can go with scary movies. psychological versus slasher versus, anything else you want to throw in there, supernatural, fantasy, even some of that stuff. And I just had a lot of fun checking those out, seeing all the stuff, the new stuff that I hadn't gotten to. Tigers Are Not Afraid, a lot of Guillermo del Toro stuff. The Mist, obviously, I talked about. Just a lot of some of those foreign movies that were on there. There's 32 movies that I think are all good, minus Trick or Treat. But I like all of those movies on that list, and that's 32 movies we could definitely just throw out there and say, watch any of these, you're probably gonna like it. So loved it. I had a blast doing it. I love when we do brackets. I love when we get to some of those more. We're doing a list of a bunch of types of movies when we did the sports movie bracket, or the sports draft, sports movie draft a month or two ago. Just stuff like that. And I really loved the variety, and especially because we had foreign movies in this category or in the list. Just checking out and seeing what everybody else considers to be scary. I thought it was really fun. So
I like that as a general thing, because it was nice to finally force myself to check some of those boxes that I had just been meaning to, those movies I'd been meaning to watch for so long.
Yeah.
The Orphanage had been on my list for a decade.
Yep.
And then it was the last one that I watched.
Yep.
For the list. But I wanted to bring up another 2022 movie because it's currently on Amazon Prime. And it is called Argentina 1985.
Oh,
okay.
And this is about narrates the strategy of two prosecutors to carry out the trial to sentence the commanders of the last military dictatorship in Argentina for crimes against humanity. So most Americans probably not going to be too familiar with the historical context here. I wasn't. I think 7 years before the movie starts, the people won their government back from a military dictatorship. And then 7 years later, they finally charge a bunch of people who are still actively in the military or working in police offices or whatever. They're just part of the active community still. They finally charged them with war crimes and murder. There were thousands of people that they murdered or kidnapped and quote unquote disappeared during their reign of just the opposing political parties or just random people who might have been, and it's just these two guys and their team of young college students, because they don't have any ties to the former dictatorship and they aren't afraid to work with them. It's long. It's let me see the length. It's 141 minutes, so 220, and it's a little inconsistent with the way it does some of the stuff with the main characters. Sometimes it's okay, we're not going to go too far into their personal lives and keep it on the trial, but when we do go into their personal lives, sometimes it's a little hit or miss on how interesting that is.
Okay.
But once the trial starts, there are just some incredible moments in this movie, with testimonies from survivors that they put on the stand in the movie, they call it the indictment, but I mean, it would be the closing arguments from the lead prosecutor. Just stunning, jaw-droppingly good. So they're the highs in this movie are really high, and I think it's a perfect time for this movie to come out with just the political elements that we're in, with a lot of rises of kind of right wing or potential dictatorships going on globally right now. Seeing this movie come out and just watching, again, it's on Prime. Came out weekends ago. You can just watch it. I'd really recommend this. It's a fascinating true story that's done very well and fits times really well.
Nice.
Excellent.
All right.
Prime. Okay.
All right, and then back to me. I just have two movies that I want to talk about. The first one is I finally got around to 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street.
I saw
that.
Yes, finally. This was the Halloween season where I knocked it out. And I got to say, I mean, start with the stuff I didn't like about it. Definitely super cheesy, and there were moments where it was just oh God, 80s horror movie. I mean, the girls across the street banging on the window for help, and the cops, her dad, who's also the sheriff, his buddies in the yard just watching her, should I go get the sheriff? Should I? His daughter's just screaming bloody murder across the street. Should I should I do something? Like, it's just like, good Lord. So like the excessive cheese was a little much, but I still had a really fun time. It's just an amazing, incredible premise for a horror movie that they executed well. Young Johnny Depp is great. I thought the kids in general were pretty great. Freddy was, maybe not as horrifying as he later would be, or he would be if the movie was made today, kind of slowly moving. And like, was he just like, he didn't say a lot. I feel like all he really
no, he just like I'm gonna get you, and it's slowly,
I'm
like
gonna get
scrape
you,
claws against
the
stuff.
brains. Yeah.
He does a lot of this, like where he like wraps his hands
Yes.
around. You see the knives like move on his hand, and you're like, okay, that's pretty creepy. You're
But then to
it.
balance that out, there's the fantastic tub scene where his hand comes out of the wall. I mean, that was really well done. Like that was I was like, wow, what a shot. Like, that's
they lean
great.
into some cool shit.
So I can totally see why this has like a following and why, people loved it when it came out, why it spawned a whole franchise. Like, I get it now. Glad I watched it. Just a fun time. And then
Did you
second
see
one,
really quick that the lead in this movie, Heather Langenkamp, she was the doctor in The Midnight Club.
oh my gosh, is that? Oh, I did not see that until just now.
Yep.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. Well, that is really cool. Then there you go. That just puts a smile on my face.
That's a full
That's
circle.
nice. That's nice. God, Mike Flanagan, you're just the best. And then the second one I want to talk about is not actually a movie, but it is a 3-part documentary that I'm a little late to the party on. But thanks to our friend Jay, who has been a guest on this show, I gave it a shot. And that is the 3-part documentary about Woodstock 99 called Trainwreck.
Okay.
On Netflix right now. It's only 3 episodes. It's day 1, day 2, and day 3. And I challenge either of you to watch the first episode and not be immediately compelled to watch the other 2.
Not immediately just go, well, I'm watching this tonight.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
just, it is fascinating. It's really well done. The way they build it to what happens, and just kind of really, they talk to kids who were there. They talk to the artists that performed. They talk to the people who put it on. I mean, it's really cool. You get a great snapshot of 90s, it's in the 1998 music, what was big culturally, where we were at, kind of the problems that I feel like you could, like problems that we're kind of still dealing with now that you could see kind of the early genesis of. Like, I just found it completely fascinating. Could not look away. I watched the 1 episode, and then I like had to go. I had like an appointment or something, and I was like, when I get back, I am finishing this, and I immediately did. So again, and it's so easy because it's only 3 episodes. You can literally knock it out like anytime. But yeah, really fun, insane footage. Footage. You just will not believe what
I like the poster.
Let's see. I'm gonna bring it up there.
It's just a porta potty that's on fire.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, just to, as if I already hadn't sold it enough, there were like 250,000 plus people.
That's bananas.
I went to a music festival in Louisville last month that had 70,000 people, and I was overwhelmed. I could not imagine over 3 times as many people. That blows my freaking mind. But yeah, so those are my just need to talk about. The original Nightmare on Elm Street, and then Trainwreck, Woodstock 99, currently available on Netflix.
Hell yeah.
All
Some
right.
great choices. This is a good roundup, guys.
This was a good October. I think we did
it was.
well yet
Absolutely.
again. I feel like this podcast has a good record with October. I know last year, the year before, we kind of did like a bunch of the classic horror movies.
That was that was 2020 with COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, dug deep into like The Exorcist and The Thing, and now we had The Bracket. We also did the Over the Garden Wall, and I think we're doing good on these October spooky season episodes that we're coming out with.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. It was really fun to watch these.
It's a good month. We'll try to carry this momentum into November and December, but there's 4 movies basically a weekend coming out.
Yeah, we are
every week until Christmas.
Yeah.
So
the transition from spooky season to award season has begun.
Yeah, it was a hard line.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Unless there's anything else, whose turn is it to put a wrap on the show?
I've got it.
All right, Adam, take it away.
It's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare.